Here we go. Beef tenderloin. Going to show you how to fabricate a beef tenderloin. That's what it looks like whole. This one looks like almost 8 pounds. 8 pounds. By the time I get done, I'll probably have, I don't know, 5.5 pounds or so usable meat. I'm going to show you how to clean it. This is a USDA choice beef tenderloin. It's on the inside of the animal. This is what protects the organs from banging up against the spine and the rib cage. On the T-bone, this is the tender part of it. This becomes the filet mignon also. And that's what we'll be making out of this, little filet mignons. Now I'm making this video to show you, to take away some of the scariness of cooking this or using this big piece of meat. Now the good thing about it is it costs a lot less to buy it this way than it does already pre-cut in the butcher. And you also can make sure you get rid of the chain or any excess fat. So let's go. So there's going to be some juice in the package. So make sure you drain it. So the way I'm going to drain this guy is, one side's a lot bigger than the other, so I'm going to cut the bigger side of the bag so it will slide out. Otherwise, it wouldn't slide out the thinner side. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and slice the bag open. And I'm going to let the bag drain out. All right, like that. And once I get most of it out off them, I'm going to go on my cutting board here. Right like so. And then I will remove the rest of the bag. Get back, Coop. Cooper, get back. All right, and that's going to be my scrap bin there. So there he is. Get back, buddy. So I just take paper towels and wipe up any of the excess juice. It helps to use one of these cutting boards that has the trough all the way around it, and that catches some of the juice. All right. So there we go. Let's get going on this. All right, so let's skin a beef tenderloin. So I've already got it pulled out of the package. Now I'm going to remove a lot of this excess fat. So I'm going to clean up a little bit of paper towels, just get some of the liquid off it. And I'll show you how I clean this. That's what we call it. It's not really cleaning it. It's what we're doing is just removing the excess fat, because we don't want that on our steaks. So this is called a boning knife. It's sharp. So I'm just going to start trimming off some of this fat. And a lot of this just pulls off by hand. See how that's coming off? This is a really, really, really tender cut of meat. So I'm just pulling this off, and that goes into my scrap bucket. This is what you call the chain. So let me finish cleaning it up, and then I'll go show you where that chain is. So all I'm doing is pulling any of this excess fat off that I can. You don't want to eat any of that, especially with this really, really expensive cut of meat. Okay, so let's look at this. Okay, so if you look down here, we've got this. This is the chain. That whole side part there is the chain, and all of that comes off. If you buy that at the grocery store, they sell that in your steaks. So I'm going to show you how I remove that. Turn my cutting board that way so it's a little easier for y'all to see. Slide it back this way a little bit. All right, so that's the chain there. And now I'm just going to remove that because I'm making center cut beef fillets for this dinner we're doing tomorrow. And I'm just going to remove this chain. Comes right off. So if you buy this in the grocery store, this is sold as part of the fillet, like in the packages. And there you go. And there's your chain. So there's usable meat in there if you go through and pick it. But right now, we're not going to do that. We're going to set that aside and pick that at a later date. Okay, so now we're back to getting closer to the center cut of the fillet. So now I'm going to show you how I remove all this, which is called silver skin. Super simple. Hold tight. Okay, so now we're going to pull cut off the silver skin. I'm going to show you how to do that so you get less waste. Here we go. All right, so I go through and I finish pulling off all these little bits of fat. And then the way you get the silver skin off is you take your knife and you want your knife to be facing upwards away from the meat. And I'm just going to stick the knife underneath that silver skin. See that? And I'm just going to slice this up. So all I'm doing is pulling the silver skin off and none of the meat, because you don't want to waste any of that meat. Okay? And I just go through, whoops. I just go through and do it for all of it. See that? Very little meat being wasted on that, because you're turning your knife up away from the beef. But all of this silver skin, it's not edible. So if you buy a beef tenderloin that hasn't been fabricated already, hasn't been cut up already for you, and you don't take this silver skin off, it's inedible. So it just shrivels up and gets hard to eat. So this is what we call the butt end or the head of the beef tenderloin. And this down here is the tips. So when you buy something called tips and tails, there's your tips and there's your tail. The end piece usually is not nice and squared off like a baseball cut. So they call that the tail, the tip. No, the tail, and they call that the tip, which I'll show you all that too. So you're just going across the beef tenderloin, pulling off any of the fat. All right, so let's finish this up here. So we're trying to get all this silver skin off. I'm just trimming it up here. Really easy to do. Takes a little while, but not too long. Helps to have a nice boning knife. Okay, look at that. Cleaning right up nicely. Little fat there I'll get rid of. There we go. A little bit of fat over here I'll trim up. A little bit right there I'll trim up. There we go. There you go. Beef tenderloin on that side is clean. Now we're going to turn it over. Now it's got a little bit of fat on here, not a whole lot, A lot of this can just be trimmed off. Here's how we used to do it. We used to take our knife and just barely run across the top of this, and look at all that fat that comes off. Like that. And you don't want to waste too much of this, but you don't want big hunks of fat. And there's a little bit of silver skin on the bottom side of this head of the beef tenderloin. So you got to take that off. And it does help to have a sharp knife. And you can actually see where this sits up against the rib cage and the spine. All right, there we go. I think she's all trimmed up nicely. Now let's cut her into some steaks. A little spot right here I'm gonna get rid of. All right. And I see a little bit of silver skin I missed over here. That'll take off. A little bit right there. That'll take off. There we go. Good to go. Okay, so let's get us some steaks cut now. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this end cut and take him off. I'll show you what I'll do with that. A little bit of fat on, not too much. Put that over there. All right. Now what we're doing is we're gonna start squaring these off and making little steaks. There's number one. And it's got a little bit of fat on it right there. Number two. Number three. Number four. 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now you start to see we're getting up into this head. So we can do it a couple different ways. I'm gonna get a couple more center cuts out of it, and I'll show you what I do with the rest of that. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I'm going to show you what I do with this. So I'm making little medallions of beef tenderloin. Look at all of them. They're just beautiful, aren't they? that guy. He's going to become one. And all I'm doing is squaring off these and making steaks out of them. I'll show you what to do. This one. This guy. That had a little bit of... Sous vide it for an hour, and then I'll reverse sear it. And that right there is how you cut up a beef tenderloin. Let's cook like rock stars, y'all. It's not that difficult. Matt, Dad, everybody out there, let's all make a difference. Mad, make a difference. And then when you season it with that right there. Mad, we'll have some pictures from it tomorrow.